yesterday. RRQ Hoshi, that's what I meant. Then utilize the Martes to kind of force the Valley to make the mistakes, but that didn't happen. RRQ Akira's choice was to fight fire with fire, and they lose their flair. During that case, Joy gonna be banned out. They are now eyeing to take the carry or the Eve for themselves.
Adaptations need to be made now or never. Match point, we all know that momentum has been absolutely insane, right? It's so important right now in the current meta. We've seen that in the lower brackets. Most teams have been winning in a sweep, clean sweep. So now the Valley still opting to go for red side.
Yep. For RRQ Akira, I definitely am looking forward to whether or not they'll pick the Eve or the carry, because the Kaja has been banned. Okay, I think this merits an Eve pick.
All right, there you go.
I mean, a carry, I mean.
Yeah, I think it's really good how the Valley is doing this, right?
Eve Grok.
Yeah, Eve Grok going in is a kind of like a no-brainer. It did really well in game number 1.
Yeah.
But I really like what the Valley did. Instead of banning away either the carry or the Eve, you limit those 2 prior picks into 1.
Yeah.
I ban something that is also kind of prior, which is the Kaja. I open up these 2. I throw you this question, RRQ Akira, which one are you going to pick?
We'll see what they go for now. Honestly, I am still leaning on towards that Grok, right? It's a very good flex pick, but they can also just pick up Fredrin. A hero that we've seen Zane play. They can actually utilize it now to make it a flex pick, right? And let's see, I think it is going to be the... Oh, no, they don't go for that. They go for the Yuzong.
Yeah, because if they do pick up the Grok, the Valentina now is a very strong pick for RRQ. It still is, if they consider that. They have picked it before. Could be the answer. And then but they chose to go for the Farsa.
Oh man,
it's oh my goodness, this is weird because you already have the Yuzhong.
Exactly, it's like picking the Claude into the carry last game, right? And I think that's exactly what the Valley were going for. They knew that RRQ Akira were going to go for something like the Farsa. They wanted to get that dive, and right now we do have a quote from Mobazane. I think we realized after groups that we have to take each and every series very seriously in lower brackets, because we don't know what kind of surprises are in store for us, especially with Todak. And hey, they handled Todak really well. 2-0, man.
Yeah, I wonder if the Valley will be considering Harith. But I still think you can pick up the Grok or maybe a Kufra earlier on. But
Grok, Kufra.
Okay, so it's just the same. The thing with the difference between like Grok and Kufra, right? Kufra gets in, he will not be the one to initiate, but he kind of hides first and then goes for the first skill and the ultimate. The benefit here is that you're not showing yourself. If you're playing the Grok against the members of RRQ Akira as a roamer, you will suffer from the carry's front line damage. Right? So that's probably why they pick up the Grok instead. And now, be considering taking out this Ling. I think they want to go for something, for a kind of squisher marksman perhaps. Because RRQ Akira, they can just easily ban out both Claude as well as the Harith.
They have a pretty strong mid lane right now with the Eve, right? On top of that, they also have a Kufra up against the Farsa Cho. Mid control is going to be kind of like, 50-50 still. Yep. But with the Ling ban, I agree. I think they might actually be going for something a little bit cheeky here, right? Zane, back at M3, picked up a Granger. Haven't seen Zane on a marksman since. But with the Lapu ban as well,
I can feel it.
There's 2 dive heroes. I mean, if you go for the ban as well, early on, 3 dive bans taken away here.
Yeah.
I think Mobazane is definitely going to break the mold just a little bit. It feels like RRQ Akira definitely takes something away. Oh no, they're not going to take something away from Mobazane. They're going to ban and limit that hero pool for the gold lane just a little bit.
I think you want to go Harith or Brody.
Yeah, I agree.
If you are
okay, we know what they're going for.
It's a Granger.
It's a Granger, right?
Absolutely. I mean, maybe the worst is like, yeah, exactly. I do agree with you. But how do you answer it if you're RRQ Akira? Do you take out the Martis first so that they will try to change it up? Or do you go Fredrin so that you'll have a lot of like frontline and peel for your team, right? It just makes sense. And then against the Yuzhong, you don't have the Lapu Lapu anymore. What else do you use to match up against the Yuzhong?
I feel like, guys, the Valley is just drafting like a monster right here. In game number 1, they throw in a lot of questions to RRQ Akira. RRQ Akira doesn't really have the answer. They need to refer to a lot of reference books. But the Valley this time around, there's this looming threat of a Granger, and RRQ Akira cannot do anything against it. because they are first pick. They will conclude
And there
everything.
you go.
And there
We
you
called
go.
it.
We got it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mobazane coming
do
back
it.
on that grandeur.
Oh, man.
We
Oh
saw
my
him coming from a
God.
mile away, dude.
Guess
Yes.
who's back? It's Mobazane on the Granger, a signature pick for him. This was the pick that sent Blacklist International to the lower brackets at M3. And now they're doing it against RRQ Akira as we load into the game. Oh, I'm so hyped for this.
Man, this is so crazy, the way that the Valley could potentially use the Grandeur as well. A lot of CCs, a lot of things that could clump up everybody together. You have the Kufra, you got the Yi, and then it just lines it up for Grandeur so perfectly. You do have the early game in your bag as well, and it can snowball very quickly.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, here you go. You can see the crowd. Let's go Valley. Hashtag Valley. That's how you support Valley. And the crowd's here. You can only see as well the crowd for RRQ Akira. It's time to dive into the Land of Dawn for game number 2. Let's see, is it going to be match point for the Valley, or will RRQ Akira equalize?
RRQ Akira, they have a ton of crowd control between like the Grok, the Akai, as well as the Cho. However, can they get into the backlines? It's true that they have so much ways to close the gap. But because of the poke that can come out from the Granger as well as the Harith, and the fact that you go for Purify, then you get punished by the Eve. It's not that easy to get into the backlines of the Valley. But if they do, that is where their composition thrives at.
Now, honestly, for RRQ Akira, right? I don't really like that Akai pick too. At that point, you knew that was going to be the Granger, right?
Yeah.
Picking up a jungler like this, there's no other real choices, right? The Ling was banned out. The Hayabusa gets countered by the Kufra here. It's going to be very tough to get in, especially considering the Valley wants to stick together for the most part. I can see why they didn't go for the Hayabusa, but the Akai here just seems, again, a bit forced.
Really forcing it. And something else that I noticed about, I think what RRQ Akira needs to do is to play around that mid lane. You know who's not going to have a very wonderful clear. That's why Akira is already here at the bottom lane, and they're putting some pressure on basic. They need to make sure that this Harith doesn't scale against the counter, which is the carry.
Well, the Harith actually does pretty well up against Gusta Lagusta in this lane. I think RRQ Akira are doing really well, though, because they are rotating towards that gold lane, stopping Basic from winning in the trades and giving the carry a bit more time to actually scale up. Because the later the game goes, that's when the Yu Zhong and even the Granger, well, I'm going to talk about the Granger more, outscale, not outscale, definitely not outscale, but outrageous. There you go, that was the word I was looking for. Gusta Lagusta won't be able to do anything when he's poked down by Mobazane in the mid-game.
And this is a great combination with the Yu Zhong, right? The Yu Zhong closes the gap with the ultimate, and then you have the Eve for long-range damage. Even better range is the Granger, right? So you can follow up after the jumps coming out from both Fight Chicken and Super Shark from a safer distance.
And here goes. Gunnerberry going to drop down. King will be able to retribute the turtle for now. Super Shark catching Luis in the back line. It's going to be a first blood over to the Granger player. There's a lot of flickers being, well, Takashi burning the flicker to get to safety.
Hey, it's deja vu. You take the kill, we take the objectives. RRQ Akira still opting to go for that and still opting to really now play around their mid and gold lane. That's their main source, well, to carry the game. That's their win condition at this point.
You can see the positioning coming out from RRQ Akira. They wanted to zone out the members of the Valley, and Luis did a great job doing that. However, they got punished. Like I said, the pokes coming out from the Valley, they're lethal. You cannot be hit by some of those specials, even just like the Rondo coming up from Mobazane.
Bouncing ball. Jumping out. Super Shark gets to safety. You can start to see that, you know, RRQ Akira focusing on the mid lane this time round. They need to get the Farsa up to land on the damage.
Looking at just the way that the game is being played now, the Valleys are very comfortable at this rate, but they will have to press the issue quite much faster than you would expect. So maybe come the mid game, maybe around about 7 minutes, they have to be grouping up, utilizing basics farm, and the fact that he has the Purify, asked the Harith to deal the damage with Mobazane. That's one thing that we can expect from the Valley. But for RQ Brazil, maybe they can just play it out. They have great late game with the Farsa and the carry. And if they do find the openings with all of their crowd controls, they will have the chance to duke it out in the late game.
Agreed. And here also we have the M4 stats. The Valley is ranked first in Lord secured per game with 1.4, and also ranked first in least deaths per game as a team, right? 7.1 is pretty insane as a team, considering from the games we've seen, especially from the Southeast Asian teams, there are a lot of roamers dying like 11 times in these games, right? Especially the Hildas, I'm calling them out. Here though, Valley, at this point, they also don't really need to rush. They're in no rush whatsoever. They still have that late game solid, and they can play towards the mid game, right? Lord secures number one. Luis jumps in. Whoa.
Oh, he catches it. It's going to be Saija activating the fading arrow strike at the same time. Fight Chicken going in the back, but it's going to be the pin coming out from the side of Super Shark to try to delay some time. Momozane going in for the Rhapsody as pushes RRQ Akira away from the turtle pit.
That's 1-0 though. RRQ Akira have a man advantage. There's already a trade being set up by the Valley as Flight is in that top lane. Let's see what happens.
Oh, King jumping in. Let's over the members for Momozane. The Retribution landing true.
Momozane has been a monster with his Retribution, man. And
crazy.
He shows it again.
Even in the presence, 4 members of RRQ Brazil is unfazed, same level with King, but wins the Retribution battle anyways, and then they'll be able to push very quickly. Super Shark already crossing their T's and dotting their I's, making sure that every push is checked. This is the reason why I commend Super Shark so many times whenever I see them very comfortable with their playstyle. And this is also the reason why the Valley is leading by 1,000 gold.
Another fun fact to bring up, maybe after this though.
Maybe after this, but it's out to Hao Luis. Oh, he kicks the super shot, engager, but flickers back into safety. The bouncing ball, the better airstrike. Takashi will be there to swing the rock, but it's going to be Super Shark going down for the first time in this game.
Yeah, back to my point, right? Fun fact. The Valley, back at M3, lost to EVO's SG in the group stages, then went on to the knockout stages to beat EVO's SG. Here, Valley lost against RRQ Akira, and right now it does look like they are in the lead 1-0 and in game 2 as well.
Oh, Zamanfo is going in. Dev Sonata Basic will be there to take down Saja, and there's no more artillery strikes, and Lewis trying to kick Momozane into safety, but they will not be able to do so. Momozane still alive, outputting the damage, giving the kills over to his team. Hoon escalates.
It's a disaster for Brazil and for RRQ Akira right now. 2.2k gold lead.
Yeah.
In the early stage of the game, this is the Valley with Granger, right? Again, RRQ Akira, it feels like just the communication isn't there. They're going in. They're very hesitant.
Momozane should have died right there, right? No way in the world. You've absorbed the wave of the dragon from the side of Luis already, and you're not dead. I don't know what's going on.
He's hitting his Rhapsody so well. Every bullet hits, but means that he will be able to reset the cooldown of the Rondo, so he managed it so well, and he's on point with his usage of the first skill. And by the way, they utilize Hoon's ultimate just to stun. As we've mentioned, the lethal pokes coming out from the Valley, whenever there's just a split second or maybe a 1 second crowd control, you have a follow-up coming out from Basic as well as Momozane. They can take down enemies
we're talking about the clockwork play coming up in the Valley as well. It's going to be the Blake Dragon form going around, but King will be able to secure the turtle for now, unfazed. But the Valley conceal play going in will not be able to find anything for now, not be able to convert.
It's still very intelligent, right? I mean, the Valley, they see the turtle take, they see how many resources have been placed on by RRQ Akira, and they say, you know what, instead of committing to this, that's a 50-50, might as well just back off, might as well just steal the purple buff away now that he doesn't have the Retribution, right? Momozane takes it, and you can see the level lead on a Granger, 3 levels ahead of an Akai. We, questioned the Akai pick, and now we're really seeing it, right?
Yeah, definitely. You see the push though. Oh, Fried Chicken.
Fried Chicken going in. It's going to be Fried Chicken that gets kicked into seconds damage. But bottom side looking a bit low for the side of the Valley. RRQ Akira, they need to try to push something or do some damage at the bottom lane.
This is great though. The pickups are expensive, but at the same time, it is converting into kills. If they do get a push, this will be a great economical swing in favor of RRQ Brazil, and they need to make more of those shots. I mean, you can see that Luis was on point with the stun, and Gusta Lagusta being protected as well from RRQ Akira. This is what they need against the Valley. Get pickoffs and convert into turns.
Getting pickoff is the name of the game right here. Super Shark picks up the King. It's going to be real warm manipulation. It's Zaman Force landing down by the Valley. Expensive, but I think they get the kill. They get to walk away with it.
Wow.
I mean, it's expensive, but if there's no punishment, why not?
there
Another
you go.
conceal here.
Oh my goodness. The
Hidden
Valley,
dragon.
they're hungry. They're looking for the big one right there. Gusta Lugusta gets wiped out of the map. Second Feather Airstrike will not be able to do anything as well. The Valley, they were looking for blood.
RRQ Akira just not used to the pace that the Valley are bringing.
Oh my goodness. So they lost their Akai in the middle, right? And then RRQ Akira, they were trying to clear the way of top as quickly as they can, but they were found out by the Valley. Gusta Lagusta shows himself. Quick conceal play coming out from the Valley with the Hidden Dragon coming out from Fried Chicken. Afterwards, you have the Death Sonata. As we mentioned, anybody who gets stunned will be taken out easily just because of the range of Mobazane.
And on top of that, again, something I do want to add is the Farsa pick, right? We spoke about this in the draft, but here you can really see, again, how the Farsa can't really have a say in these team fights when it comes to the mid-stage of the game because of how oppressive Wyatt and Super Shark have been. Every single time, well, you know, usually you see the Black Dragon form being popped in after the Feather Airstrike gets popped. But Sagan, he can't even use the Feather Airstrike. That Black Dragon form just zones him away from the fight before he can even use it. And sometimes he uses it for poke, sometimes he uses it to try to get a kill on the Wyatt, but it just does not work out in the end.
Hot take right here, when you go into Feather Airstrike, you're technically stunned, right?
Yeah.
And you're basically a target for Mobazane to land down the Death Sonata. And because you already used that Feather Airstrike, you have to fly away to avoid that damage. You'll not be able to contribute into the damage. But right now, RRQ Akira focusing on the Lord right now. This is just consolation prize, but it's up to Super Shark whether they can manage this. It's going to be Takashi going in, King with the heavy spin, pushes basically looking for some damage. The Death Sonata doesn't connect. RRQ Akira picks up the Lord.
Such a good sneak.
It is.
Wow. They badly needed that. They needed these kinds of plays. The Valley, though, quick to punish. Able to take out one turret in the middle, maybe up top. Bottom lane, there's a fat stack of minions out there. But Mobazane is going to be stealing this purple buff. So economically speaking, the Valley still able to find their openings. But this means that RRQ Akira will have a little bit of an opening for them to bridge their way into the latter portions of the match.
Personally, I feel like what the Valley did is super clean. It's like clockwork. They're moving as a big team.
Fried Chicken.
But Fried Chicken, on the other hand, there's so much vision. But here comes the big Black Dragon. Super Shot will be wiped off, but here goes Mobazane at the same time. RRQ Akira now find a bit of a pick up himself. Pick up by pick up. Hoon will get kicked right back to Akira.
Okay, the name of the game is whoever engages first, they win. Both of the teams are playing front to back, so it just becomes a dive match now. And you can see it. RRQ Akira, the way to turn it around is from a dive set up by the Wild Charge.
Okay, so there will be a holy defense soon. Oh, there you go. But they will still be able to push this. RRQ Akira, out of nowhere, finds a lot of stuff.
Everything.
It's like a piñata, right? They found it and they break it open and they get all the goods in the world.
Wow, what a turn. That 3K, 4K gold lead that the Valley took 10 minutes to build is now gone. RRQ Akira with one team fight. This is what they need to do. With their backline so vulnerable to these crazy dives from the Valley, they need to create some space. How? Not by going back, moving back with the backline, but by creating some more threat towards the enemy backline so that the Valley's front line needs to move back.
Wow.
Here, we're going to take a look at the item builds again, Wolf.
See, a lot of like damage output coming out from the Grok. I was actually surprised that he went for the Blade of Despair as his last item, but he went for Hephaestus, Deadly Blade, and Blade of Despair. So much physical damage, which means so much physical defense as well. That will be the way for them to kind of frontline against Mobazane. Not against Basic as much, but you can see that he can pack up a punch. The fact that he can also like one-shot those squishy heroes, even the Harith, if he gets flickered upon with the Wild Charge, he's gonna feel that. So you have to be careful if you are Basic, because you have little HP, as well as, you know, Mobazane. They can be bursted down by this Grok, with the Rapid Boots, by the way.
I think right now it's just the fact that you're seeing the Farsa starting to pick up the items right here. Super Shark jumps over into the rush. Mobazane follows suit. RRQ Akira is not giving any information over the Valley right now. The Valley is a little bit struggling and they're hungry for information.
And now you can finally understand what RRQ Akira can do in the later stage of the game with this composition, right?
Correct.
They can open up the map a bit better, whereas the Valley, they're going to have to stick as 4 or even as 5 in a lot of these positions because of how vulnerable their backline is as well. But now, the only difference is from the early game is the Valley are, well, the score is equalized, the goal is equalized. RRQ Akira can just burst down the Granger now. he's not as safe as he was when he just got that brute force.
If you argue, you can even argue, I mean, that when it comes to just the scaling factor for both Akira and the Valley, we'll have to favor it to the Brazilian squad.
Yep.
You know that they have the carry that can really just carry them into the late game. Even the Grok, when it comes to just the damage department, is dependable. And of course, the Farsa.
Yeah.
The Farsa is great against squishy heroes. If you think about it, Eve, Harith, and Granger, they're not that tanky.
Nope, not at all. And right now, the Valley are committing a lot of resources to just opening up the map, but again, they have to funnel together as 5. Meanwhile, for RRQ Akira, they can be all over the map. They can open up the map one by one because of how tanky their individual members are, and here it is.
Here it is, the Black Dragon form will trigger. It's going to be Gusta Lucas now second all the way in the back line.
Take
Going
it.
second, picking up the Lord. RRQ Akira feeling strong for that, but Mova saying,
Wide.
into depths from downtown. Fried Chicken trying to push down Seiken, but it's going to be Kakashi turning it around. Fried Chicken gets taken down.
1 for 1, jungler for XP lane, and RRQ Akira walks out with the valuable trade. They got the Lord.
They got the Lord with the Farsa feathered airstrike. Saigon was on point with the positioning, as well as the fact that they invited the Valley once again into their zone. Surely you're going to see a lot of damage coming out from Hoon and Basic, but Mobazane had to go in just to go for the retribution. That's why he's quite not confident getting in front of the Lord, because he's still a marksman at the end of the day. While you can see that the members of RRQ Brazil, they're very tanky.
They don't have a lot of siege potential now, though. With King being taken down, that's one final frontliner gone. And it does seem like the Valley are just going to be able to clear out the Lord like it's nothing. Might actually be able to just equalize the gold once again, right? There are no more enhanced mini waves to play with, but RRQ are still looking for a play.
Is looking for a play, and it's a play that they really need. Fried Chicken go all the way in the back line. Real one motivation doesn't really connect. It's going to be Fried Chicken, will not be able to survive. Gusta Lugusta, the light was the damage is just too much.
That was such a good bait from RRQ Akira, man. They understand that they can't push in. They need to utilize their aggression to bait out the aggression from the Valley. And Fried Chicken, again, remember what I said early on. He always pops his ultimate before the airstrike comes in. So here, he wanted to go for an engage, but guess what? RRQ Akira have that engage, or that disengage with King.
Yeah, I think right now the Valley is really strong as spy, but then again RRQ Akira, they readapt.
Oh,
But Takashi, the flicker ultimate in the back line. It is going to be Fried Chicken Basic already lost. It is going to be also the Fed airstrike zoning the Valley. No answer to the bottom lane.
One shot with a wild charge, half HP Harith, half HP Granger. And all you have to do is to follow with a feathered airstrike, and not even needing it at that moment, as Gusta Lagusta really hit against the Valley with all of the attack speed items that he has in the ultimate as well. And now RRQ Brazil, you can feel the scaling factor for them. Into the late game, we know that they have the advantage. For the Valley to be able to take them down, they have to go in together. They have to utilize the Dragon form in combination with the Eve ultimate as well as the Death Sonata. It's now conditional for the Valley. For them to be able to win this, they need to hit all of those conditions.
On top of those conditions, man, I mean, I don't know if this is a curse or something, but after they showed the M4 stats for #1 in Lord takes, they don't get a Lord. #1 in least deaths, they got 8 deaths, right? So right now, the Valley, again, like you said, Wolf, they have certain conditions that they need to meet to actually win the game, and it's to get a clean front-to-back composition team fight. RRQ Akira have not been letting that happen, and they've been actually isolating the members really well. And guess what? In the later stages, like you said, RRQ Akira scales better. With Gusta, they can constantly be threatening the Lord take.
Lord take happening right now. The Lord down to be commenced. RRQ Akira baiting the Lord towards their side. But hold on a second, this time around the Valley, a bit of switcheroo right here. It's going to be Fried Chicken all the way in the back line. Does have the Black Dragon form to gap close very quickly to join the fight. Hoon in the Basic in the middle lane, clearing the way for now. It is
Watch out for
a
the
big
Grok.
standoff.
Slow push in the top lane. Bottom lane too, RRQ Akira managing the waves really well here with those base turrets taken down. Those super minions doing work. And this will ultimately split the Valley up. RRQ Akira doing a really good job, and again, just playing with that time. No need to rush. Luis though.
Luis! He catches Mobile Zane, but it's going to be Luis. The ultimate will be get cancelled out. King will be able to fall as well. Fighting trying to back line damage, but will not be able to find anything as well. Lugusta, the light was the damage is a little bit too much, and at the same time, not enough damage from the Valley to end the fight.
What a brilliant setup from RRQ Akira.
Absolutely.
The forced errors from the mini waves all the way to the threaten of the Lord take.
Yeah, that was the Lord Dance coming up from RRQ Brazil.
Yeah.
Takashi waited for a little while up to the top lane bush and then went into the Kramer's bush, immediately seeing like Mobazane being impatient and walking out of their own protection. They were baited by King just working on the Lord. And because of that, they will lose influence in the Lord. And RRQ Brazil will just take it easily.
The Valley, they lost patience. You can tell them in the, you can see their bloodthirstiness become their weakness.
Yeah, right? You were used to be called BTK, the Bloodthirsty Kings, right? But now their Valley, they need to play it a bit more calmly. They need to stay composed. Itemization in the 19th minute of the game. Tell me what you're seeing, Wolf.
Oh, you kind of need to swap the items now for basic. I mean, he actually sold the boots already, going for the Divine Glaive, so there's already massive damage. Although he had to go for a concentrated energy as well as the Oracle just to kind of last for a little bit longer. But I think that they need more damage now.
Shark going in, the Feather Asteroid will be activated as well. Rune, oh no, he gets deactivated.
Oh,
it's on the real world manipulation. Basic will get taken down in the back line. The Lord is actually wreaking havoc at the core of the Valley. And now Super Shark and the members of the Valley is trying to desperately defend. A 4-member defense. Void Trigger activating, but not enough. RRQ Brazil equalizes.
The equalizer here up against a signature pick on Mobazane. The Granger did not find the success they were expecting, and RRQ Akira showing signs of life. They're here not just to compete, they're here for the trophy.
And RRQ Akira knows the timings. In fact, Harith, coming out from basic, had split second of a cooldown before his Purify is up, but he was already locked down by the Akai with a massive push coming out from RRQ Akira. That wasn't the real story though, that was just the icing on the cake. The real reason why RRQ Brazil is able to win this fight is because they found an opening up top lane with the utilization of them just dissecting the composition of the Valley. My goodness, that looked good.
The forced errors were absolutely amazing, but what else is amazing is the M4 Battle Night that goes live this January 21. Expect loads of events and rewards up for grabs in-game. First off, complete battle tasks in the game on 21st of January to get a skin choice chest. You can also choose a skin you like most from the chest, and aside from that, battle bonus awaits you on the same day. Play matches and you'll get team star protection for 3 matches, double star raising points, double protection points, double XP, and double BP for 5 matches. We're not stopping there though. Free access to all heroes and loads of epic skins too will also be available that very day. So all you need to do is save the date. Log into the game on the 21st of January, enjoy the matches, and win tons of rewards. Let's all celebrate the M4 World Championships together, including with your friends, your family, and everyone you know.
Man, that was a good match coming out from RRQ.
It was.
Akira, right? Not only just the fact that we thought they entered the draft with a little bit weaker, but they adapted on the spot.
Yeah, well, I want to see Lavelle close to the camera again with the other analysts here as they dissect the game for game number 2. Tell us what happened.
You asked for it, and we're giving the exact opposite. I'm the furthest away from the camera, Mirko. The equalizer, RRQ Akira now 1-1 with the Valley, where I gotta say, minute 1 to minute 11, it was all the Valley. But after minute 11, things have turned around. Welcome to the Island Stand with me, LaFell, Leo, as well as Assassin Dave. Let's talk about the game. What do you think about that, Dave?
I mean, just like you said, in the early game to mid-game stages, Valley all over the map made a crucial mistake, which is not checking bush, right? You said a lot of times Foon was getting closer to Luis Chow. He's hiding the bush, and he was not checking it. Same with Granger. You saw the rotation to the top side when Chicken was camping the carry. If he just a little bit engaged a little bit earlier along with the team and maybe Zane step back a little bit, it would have turned out a different game.
You mentioned the XP lane interaction, and I think that set up the later half of the match, right? I think we ended this close to 20, give or take. The fact that this time Tekash was the aggressor compared to game one wherein he was the aggressor, but he wasn't getting the payoff. Now, on the Grok, which again we'll see more of in the stats later on in the builds, he had a choice between the Grok and maybe all of the other tier 2.5 and 3 XP laners. The fact that he was so useful from early to late, and that he could set up this anti-box strat for RRQ Akira just made the Valley's... I'd say this is a great lineup, right? There's a lot of firepower, but it was lacking.
Yeah, right now we're looking at atomization as well as the heroes. We got to talk about what was Zane on this Granger because he was very strong in the early stages of the game, but at the end, it looks like he wasn't able to do much.
See, the thing about him not able to do much actually is less about his item, but more about the engager from the team, right? After the one little setback from the team fight, it seemed like the entire Valley is playing less and less courageous, less and less decisive, and every time we've seen there's a Chow engage, and Louise coming into the back line, also along with the mistakes that we mentioned earlier from Hoon, from Zane, and that all attributed to their loss in this game.
Yep, and that set up the anti-box strategy. Yes, as a ranger, as a marksman jungle, you want to be able to know where I can fight, how I can draw these lines,
Exactly, yeah.
and where I'm allowed to go. Again, check in bush, right? But the way that RRQ Akira played, which was, again, I think secondary to the item build, I think it was more of how they executed and where they placed themselves on the map, allowed for this comeback victory.
Speaking of that, we got to look at the rich guy to carry, Gusta the Gusta for both of them, as well as Sandbag and Forgotten One. King, very interestingly enough, where King, in the early stages of the game, the way that he's itemizing, he's just building the components, but the first full item is the Brute Force Breastplate, where he's not really that tanky in the early to mid stage of the game, but he has more movement, he has more cooldown, and it worked out well later.
It's a long-term investment. The way that RRQ Akira played, they were setting up in the first 5-6 minutes, and again, it took them the 11-minute mark to actually find their full groove. And I guess that's what explains here this double-double. They invested in Gusta Lagusa on the carry, and they invested in King. They trusted this Akai to do his job, and eventually, it was so difficult for TV to get back.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautifully described. King is just a sandbag in the early game, right? And then it slowly transitioned to the carry, Gusta Lagusta, right? I mean, this is a real carry late game. He was shredding Chicken every step along the way. Every time when Chicken tried to go in, it seems like the entire Valley is not on the same page. It was just Chicken alone, and he was getting shredded by Gusta Lagusta on the carry. And that's a character we really want to be careful. Yes, we know Yujong is a really good character on flanking the backline, limiting the backline, but it has to be done in a synchronized way.
Yeah, we got to look at the MVP, and as an analyst, I have a lot to talk about the draft as well, but right now we got to talk about, in this game, the guy that really made it happen is Takashi, 3-0-6, because yes, a lot of damage coming out from the carry, but Takashi, especially in the mid to late stage of the game, he really put the game on his back where the crazy engage. I even remember the bottom inhibitor, he actually caught Moba Zane. I kind of feel like that was the game ender.
Yep, again, two kinds of MVP players or MVP awardees, setup and payoff. He was both. He helped set up the early game, at least did not lose his lane against Chicken, and then paid off in the later part of the game where he was just chunking down Basic and Granger. Basic and Zane, that is, almost half health every single time with a combo.
Yeah, Harris seen very little payback in that game, right? He actually didn't do much at all because of Takashi on the Grok. Every time this Grok finding the Harris, finding the backline, and then also you can see from the heat map right here, this guy has just been sitting in the lane most of the time. He actually didn't really go to the goal lane that much. Mainly defending the jungle, fighting the top side, trying to defend the top tower. The 5 to 10 minute map, he's still around the EXP lane because the tower, it took forever from the side of Valley to actually take it down.
So this is the setup part. He was making sure that he did not lose the lane. He kept Fight Chicken in check, and then he started to move along. If this was the maybe 15 to 20 or 10 to 15, it would look very different.
And with that, we got to look at the highlights because yes, in the first 5 to 10 minutes, it's him making sure everyone don't lose much. Because again, look at this. In the early stages of the game, the Valley did so good, and RRQ Akira, there's really not much that they can do to answer. So it really looks like, okay, so as analysts, we're talking about the draft, but because they have trained this, they understand when they can get strong, when they can engage, and it looks like the sweet spot is 11 minutes.
Yep, that's Astro Thunder making plays, and here's that one moment when he wasn't there. So again, it's very clear that Akira needed him. The Valley was watching where the Grok will put the wall up, and when if he has the ult, and here you're seeing the results are lethal.
And a really good job from Takashi and the Grok over there. Instead of going to the backline on his own, what like a lot of the X-Player would do in the middle of like a really heated team fight, he decided to come back and save the carry when Chicken was on the carry. He knows the true win condition for their entire draft is play on Gusto Gusta on the carry. So that's exactly what he executed, and it was flawless.
What a way to start the day where we're watching the Valley as well as our